Probably like myself, I've studied the newspapers for years now. The last couple of weeks I've seen headlines I simply can't believe. It started off with Jack Straw, we've had Phil Wallace jump on the bandwagon. This morning it's been Dennis McShane, the Labour Party MP for Bolton. What on earth is going on?
Rotherham, McShane. There's this huge sea change going on. As you say, a few weeks ago, any criticism of multiculturalism was taboo. Any criticism of Islam was taboo, and now everyone's jumping on this bandwagon. Not the Tories so much, it's the Labour Party thing. It's the very people who created the multicultural society, the people who have got me in court again because they were trying to claw back the Muslim vote before the European elections, and that was the price that was demanded after they'd upset them with their illegal war in Iraq. And now they're jumping on this bandwagon. So here's just a typical example. This was yesterday's Daily Express. The veil is banned in hospitals. And this has been relentless from the media the last few weeks, and now the Labour Party have picked up on it. I think there's a number of factors going on here. Without a doubt, there's an element, particularly in sections of the newspaper, in some of the newspapers, where you've got the Zionist lobby is still very significantly powerful. Everyone expects that Israel and possibly America is going to attack Iran to stop them getting a nuclear bomb. And I think some of it is an element of war propaganda, there's no doubt about it. But there's more to it than that. Jack Straw, for instance, he was very, very critical of what's happened in Iraq. He's very critical of any suggestion of war in Iran. So there he appears to be playing the Muslim side. But now he's come out and attacked the veil and so on. And I think there's no grand conspiracy to this. And it's a really sordid problem. What's going on, I believe, is this, fundamentally. The Labour Party have realised that they've effectively lost the Muslim bloc vote. Bear in mind also that a few months ago, or a couple of years ago, the Muslim bloc vote, we were told, was 3 million and rising. Now they've convinced themselves there's only 1.6 million Muslims in Britain. And we don't believe that. But nevertheless, that's what they convinced themselves. That means there's only about 1 million Muslim votes. All of a sudden, the Labour Party has decided Muslims aren't very important. I think on top of that, they've realised they're going to lose their votes, particularly to respect anyway, particularly when the trouble with Iran really kicks off. So I think they've made a cold-blooded decision now that having played sugar daddy to the Muslims for so long, they've now realised they're not a very significant bloc, they've lost them anyway, and they're now worrying about the white working class vote. All of a sudden, seeing the British National Party taking it in enormous numbers, they're suddenly thinking, well, to swap 1 million Muslims for 15, 20 million working class white Brits, it's not a good electoral deal, and they've just suddenly flip-flopped.
Do you think the words of Philip Gold, the main political guru for the Labour Party for so long, warning about how Labour could lose the whole white working class vote, do you think that's beginning to kind of hit home now? Yeah,
Philip Gould, he's the Blair's chief pollster. And I think it was 2003, he was quoted in the Sunday Times. There was a big high-level conference between Gould's other key Labour Party people, and even ex-President Clinton was there. And he told the Labour Party that you risk losing the entire white working class vote to the BNP. Now, you know how things were back 3 years ago. We knew we were quite popular, but that wasn't really on the horizon. And the feeling that I get going around talking to people at meetings, looking at where we've got new, very effective branches springing up, you've got in the West Midlands as well, all over the place. Clearly what Gould's high-level polling identified as a possible future trend 3 years ago, I think it's happening now. And I've no doubt they still have that polling mechanism in being. They'll still be taking those polls. I think they can see the prospect of a tidal wave of British National Party support, and this is a desperate attempt to head it off at the pass.
It's quite an astonishing tactic, though, this sudden about change. From a point of view of integrity, there's so much hypocrisy here, isn't there? The very same people like Wallace, who's been a thorn in our side in Oldham for so long with his politically correct agenda, and Straw, someone like Straw, saying things, trying to kind of court the white vote, but they're very damaging things to suggest that Muslim women have to remove their vote. They're very provocative yet superficial things.
They are. What you were saying about their flip-flop, Little John writing in the Mail, this was yesterday, talking about Jack Straw, he refers to him as the honourable member for Bangalore East, who kicked off the debate about the veil. This was a man who had previously missed no opportunity to jet off to the Indian subcontinent for a photo opportunity in a headscarf intended to ingratiate himself with his Muslim constituents. I can remember him, when Foreign Secretary, being asked on television if some deal or other was in the offing in Brussels. Inshallah, if Allah wills it, he replied. And he says the same about Peter Hain suddenly. This is a former Marxist, an extraordinary left-winger, suddenly saying, oh, it's crazy to ban the cross at British Airways and so on.
Yeah.
They're all piling in on this. I can't believe it fools anybody. This is the Labour Party, which until very recently was in local government, was banning people from flying the St George Cross or the Union Jack, because it might be racist and so on. They're still, of course, even now, it's cheap words against the veil and so on, but they haven't closed the doors to veil wearers coming to Britain. There's hundreds upon hundreds of new veil wearing women coming into Britain as economic refugees, arranged marriage partners, illegal immigrants, hundreds coming in every single day. So they're making the problem worse. When they actually say, well, we'll slam the door shut, then we'll have a debate about how we got here and where we go from here, then we can believe that they're actually serious. But it's a grotesque form of low-level populism. It's designed to cut us out. And I think the real danger, so you were sort of saying, how does this come across? How does it come across to the Muslims? That this is the party, this is the establishment, even particularly the television media. And night after night you watch television, and the TV news is now, it should be subtitled Muslims behaving badly. This is the media and the Labour establishment which has spent years making these people think that they're sacred cows, that they're beyond criticism, that everybody loves them and must bow down to them and so on. And all of a sudden they suddenly switched. And especially the veil thing is particularly dangerous. To us it's a symbol of separatism and so on, and it's a symbol of foreign occupation to many white people in many heavily enriched areas. But to Muslims it's something much, much more important. It really is about the how their women are treated and how they're to be shut away and so on. It's going right to the heart of their religious sensibilities. And I don't think that the powers that be have got the faintest idea of how much tension they're creating.
I think you're right.
The only person I've seen who's remotely spotted it was, which page? Yeah, here we are. In today's, I never thought I'd agree with David Aronovich, but in today's Times, he talks about what's going on here and so on, and where have we got it? He says he can understand why people are concerned about the Muslim community and so on, and he's been asked whether he agrees with Rod Liddell that home-based Islam is a threat. And then he goes, no, I don't agree with these things, and they're discussing the veil. The danger of this is that the process of polarisation speeds up. The Muslim organisations feel under greater threat and their language turns increasingly intemperate. The instinct of the sectarian begins to win out. And what he's saying in this article is that this populism is going to complete the alienation of the Muslim community, particularly as it's coming from the people who used to treat them as demigods. And he finishes up, he's comparing it with when Joseph Goebbels in 1943 asked the Germans if they wanted total war. Well, and they all said yes in this big meeting in Berlin apparently in 1943, and as he says, they got total war. And he's saying if you carry on with this, you're going to get total war with the Muslims in Britain. And I believe he's right. We've got, I hear obviously, as I'm sure you do as well, from so many of our people at grassroots level, in places like Burnley, Blackburn, Sheffield, all over, that there's this immense amount of tension on the streets. Beeston in Leeds, there's police crawling all over it, night after night after night, to keep the Muslims and the whites apart. And these people, they're just throwing petrol on these embers. It's unbelievable, and it's unbelievably dangerous.
It is dangerous. It's very dangerous. We've seen Labour's words, but in Burnley, for instance, where we've got quite a few councillors, of course, we've got an idea of what's behind those words, what they're saying, but what they really want, and that's the forced integration of school kids, isn't it?
Yes.
We've got another example, I think it was in one of the papers a day or so ago, where they've identified hotspots, haven't they? Where...
yes, that's here. That's the Daily Mirror.
That's it, of all papers, the Daily Mirror.
Front page here, will target Muslim hotspots. And this is Ruth Kelly. Will today order police and town hall chiefs to identify the universities, schools and mosques where young Muslims are brainwashed and break them up.
Break them up, right.